this is the Provoked Prawn, and I'm here to talk to you about why you don't need a dual PC setup. Now, this might well be a controversial subject that some of you will disagree with, and that's fine. Please do so in the comments. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. But I want to talk to you about my experiences and what I've been doing for the last few years, and why I think it's not really necessary. As you may well know, I've been building a lot of PCs over the last few years. You can see an example here behind me, which is my current rig, which I recently built in the Lian Li Dynamic Evo, and it is a pretty beastly machine with a 3090 and a Core i9-13900K and other things, but it is also capable of a number of different things. Now, recently I got my hands on a review sample of a Zotac 4080 graphics card. So obviously this is the latest series from NVIDIA at the time of making this video, and it is pretty powerful, but I wanted to put it under sort of a lot of pressure for testing purposes to benchmark it and see how it got on. So as well as video editing and other things, I wanted to put it through various different tests, both with gaming and also, more importantly, with streaming and recording. So you can see me here in my weekend guise as I am with the prawn suit on. So at the weekends, I like to play Tarkov with my friends and some Ready or Not at the moment as well. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm streaming to YouTube, and I'm also capturing gameplay footage, both from the same PC. I'm doing this at 1440p. So what you're seeing is the display is 1440p, the video is 1440p, the stream is 1440p, and I'm doing it all successfully from one machine. Now, you could argue that this is a pretty high-end machine. As I said, it's a latest generation. It has a Core i9-13900K. I've got 64 gigabytes of Kingston Fury Beast RAM. I'm running PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSDs. Obviously, I was using a 4080 there. Not everybody can afford all these different things. However, I think if you are potentially saving up for or about to purchase a second PC, or maybe purchase two PCs outright because you've heard that you need two PCs for streaming, then you're already willing to spend a lot of money. And honestly, I think you'd be better off upgrading your PC or looking to purchase a new PC with more high-end parts that will last you longer. Now, I do want to caveat this by also saying that you don't necessarily need this top-end gear. I have actually been doing this streaming setup for a while, and a few years ago I was running it with an RTX 2080 Ti, which admittedly was the top end of that series, but it was possible to do. So the same sort of logic. I was playing games and recording and streaming at the same time. Now, I also run Samsung Odyssey G9 monitor that you can see, massive 49-inch thing that runs at 5120 by 1440p at 240 hertz, so it's pretty punishing. But that PC was able to handle it, and now this one obviously runs at a higher frame rate. The other good thing that I found is that even when streaming and recording, I'm not getting really shocking temperatures. I showed in the video on this graphics card that I'll link to in the description, I was getting about 65 maximum sort of temperatures from the GPU. This is obviously going to vary depending on the setup, but with this amount of fans and also just good cooling, it's able to run pretty capably. I'm also getting between 100 and 200 FPS depending on the game I'm playing, so the game is still smooth, and that's obviously an important part of it. And that's probably why a lot of people would argue about having a dual PC setup, because you're basically allowing one to do the really fast processing for your game, and the other one just takes that sort of bandwidth off for the capture of video and the streaming of it. But like I'm saying, I'm getting 100 FPS, 200 FPS in Ready or Not in some instances with the 4080. Obviously, 3090 still also delivers really good experience for me. It has done for the last couple of years since when I bought it, or however long it's been. And it's run really well and really smoothly, and I'm able to do this. Now, it's worth noting that I'm using a replay buffer here, so I'm running a replay buffer which will capture footage from the last 5 minutes. I also tested it by recording entire sessions, so an entire mission or a map. I record that. I'd also run the replay buffer at the same time, and I'd also stream at 1440p. So I'm sending out 1440p footage at a really high bit rate, so for really good quality to YouTube, and obviously also recording gameplay that I can then edit down into clips, videos, and gameplay videos for use elsewhere. Now, obviously, you may well want to do other things. Now, if you're a sort of person that wants to strip out your webcam and overlays, for example, I'd recommend checking out this Epos Vox video, and I'll link to that in the description. In that, he talks about how you can set up OBS to have different views depending on what you're doing. So you could have one view for streaming that includes your webcam and your overlays, and then one view for recordings that is just a clean record of that, and it's worth checking that out. I've also done a video myself personally on audio. So this is the Go XLR, which can power something like a Shure SM7B microphone. You can tweak the audio in there and customize virtual audio sources in a number of different ways. It allows you to separate game audio, Discord audio, music, and other things, as well as your microphone, into various different channels and route them, but also by using a 3.5mm connection and some clever work in OBS, you can separate those out into separate audio tracks. So we're not only mixing down into a single broadcast mix, but you can also separate them out into a specific audio track. So you can see some of the samples here from that video. Essentially what you're doing is you have one broadcast mix, which is everything mixed down into one. That's sent out to track one, which then goes to the stream. But we also at the same time have another track, which might have the other audio. And the reason for this, I set it up personally, was I found that my friends were sometimes ruining my gameplay clips by just talking nonsense and saying stuff that wasn't relevant to the gameplay, what was happening at that moment, that was spoiling the clip. So what I wanted to do was eliminate that by separating out the audio tracks, so that I had one clean track, which was just the game audio, and then another one that was my mic, and another one that was them talking. And that way, if I ever needed to, I can eliminate that. Now here you can see an example of that where it's just the gameplay audio and then the sort of stream audio. But in that video I showed how it was possible to separate out multiples, and it is theoretically possible to play around with those and tweak them the way you want to. You might choose, for example, to have music on your stream, but you don't want that in your clips. So you can do things like that instead, and this makes life a lot easier. Obviously, this is what I do. What you do may vary, so let me know in the comments if there's anything different that you do that's important. But now I'm going to dive into some of my OBS settings, and then I'm going to leave you with a clip of a gameplay session so you can see what I do and what it ends up looking like. And if you want to check out my streams, head over to Provoked Prawn Pews, which I'll link to in the description, and you can see the sort of quality of capture that I'm getting. So here we are over in OBS. Now, it's worth checking out. There are a lot of videos on the best settings for OBS, and obviously this is going to vary depending on when you watch this, because this is the current version and this is the settings that I'm using at the moment. I am also streaming to YouTube. If you're thinking about streaming to Twitch, you'll probably need different settings, so it's worth keeping that in mind. And you'll see that I'm defaulting to YouTube. You can get a higher bit rate on YouTube, which is one of the reasons why I want to do that, but also I'm trying to grow that channel, and my Twitch account has never really done anything interesting. So in the output mode, I've got the video bitrate set to 10,000 kilobytes per second. Audio rate is 192, and I'm obviously using the NVENC H.264 encoder, and it's set to good quality, so P5 slow. I also have the recording set up, obviously going into a specific folder with indistinguishable quality, large file size, and it's MP4, and again using the NVENC. So this uses the NVIDIA encoder, but you'll also notice I've got enable replay buffer ticked, and then down the bottom it's got 500 seconds, and then you've got a maximum file size. Actually, this isn't necessary anymore. Recent update to OBS means you don't need a maximum file size, and it will just run there. That's obviously in the simple mode, and you can go into advanced settings. So you'll notice that, for example, you could rescale to 1080p if you wanted to downplay some of the quality settings on there. So you could stream at 1080p or 720p for Twitch while still recording at the higher settings. So you'll see that they've got this rescale output set here, but if you go to video settings, I'm actually canvassing as a resolution as 1440p and outscaled at 1440p as well. So it's 2560 by 1440 and 60 frames per second. But then for streaming to Twitch, you could downscale it to 1080p or 720p, which obviously puts a little bit less pressure on there. And you can see that if you use the advanced settings, I've got CBR rate control, 10,000 kilobytes per second, and the various settings in here for doing this. So you could copy these if you wanted to replicate or test and see if it works for you. But again, it will vary from person to person. And in this advanced mode, I also have a slightly different setup for recordings. So you can see it's 25,000 kilobits per second for recordings. Because for me, recordings are more important than streaming, but it's still very important that it does well on both counts, because that's what I'm trying to aim for here. So hopefully you found this video useful. Now check out a clip of my gaming sessions, and then check out the links to those other videos I mentioned in the description to find out more about what you can do there. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, let me know in the comments what you thought, and let me know if you think a dual PC setup is necessary.
Yeah, pick her up on the right.
Hands up! Drop your knee!
I'm out of ammo. Oh, Keller's watch out! Oh no!
No!
Oh god! I just got up and stabbed you, but I was in the middle of reloading, so I couldn't do anything.
Taste him in the ass.
Try harder, I just shot you 3 times with a taser. There we go.
Get down! I want to see hands.
What's that one?
Oh, no.
Provoked
Oh
Prawn.
god! Ah.
Fucking hell.
He's still up, Henry. He's still got his gun.
Hands up! Do it now!
He just flashbanged. Oh my god!
I'll keep him down.
He'd already surrendered and I was tasing him.